All right, I'm going to share how you can use Grok 3 AI to help you calculate your cryptocurrency capital gains for tax purposes. I think this method works. And I'm just going to preface this by saying that you do need to share your transaction data with Grok. I know some people are not that cool with that, but it's a necessary evil. You need to share it with these online models if you want them to crunch the numbers. The alternative would be to get commercial software like Coinly. And I just didn't want to do that this year. If you go to crypto.com, I'll be using that as my example, and it shows you how to export your transactions. You have to do it from the app, and you can do it for your fiat wallet, your crypto wallet, and you can follow that method to export your CSV files to your computer from your app. And the limit is 1 year for this example. But the transactions that you export from crypto.com doesn't really make sense. And that's where the software comes in. So tax.crypto.com, they used to have a software that would read their transactions, but it looks like they're outsourcing to Token Tax and Coinly. So the first step would be to export your cryptocurrency transactions. So I'll be using crypto.com in this example. I'll be using Grok 3, and I'll be using the Canadian tax system, but you could apply this approach to any country using Grok 3. And I'm not a financial advisor, so if you want to do this the other way, would be to use the software, Token Tax or Coinly. Okay, so after you've exported your data, I'm going to share the prompt. So I've got the paid version of Grok, and you need to upload your attachments. So you would go to Grok, and first I asked it some questions. If I cashed in some cryptocurrency investments, where would I put it in? It gives you a lot of useful information. So I'm actually just going to fast forward to the prompt that shows how I can actually interpret those crypto.com files. So where did I go? Okay, so I uploaded the first export. And my prompt was, can you scan this doc for any cryptocurrency withdrawals in 2024 and list them out and the capital gains I would need to report? So I used the attachment clip to attach the file, and then I use this prompt. And I didn't use deep research or think, which is good. And it listed out the particular assets. And it's just saying the amount that I withdrew, and it went through the various assets. And then I'm just going to skip forward. I asked it to put this information in a spreadsheet format, because that's where I'm ultimately going to put the data from there. So yeah, I copied this to, because I'm using a Mac, I just use text edit. It's just a notepad file. If you're using Windows, you can use that. And I saved it as a CSV file, which I then opened with Excel. So that got me this table here. But the amount that you need to calculate is, what is the original purchase price for these particular assets that I sold? And that's the hard question. So I had to go back to crypto.com. I needed to do additional exports for previous years, because remember, you're only limited to exporting 1 year's worth of data. So I actually have to do 3 exports to go back 3 years. And I'm just going to fast forward to my next prompt. So what I did, it wanted to find the adjusted cost basis, or ACB. So it couldn't find it from my first file. So then after getting those additional exports, what I did is I added 3 attachments. I wasn't sure if I could add multiple attachments, but that's good because I included the original attachment and 2 more for the past 3 years, and I put, my prompt was, please repeat the request and add this data. And I went through and I can see that it's analyzing each file and just analyzing the sales of each asset, and then explaining the ACB calculation methodology. It's actually doing the conversion of US to Canadian, which, you know, that's extra calculation work. So if you're in another country, Grok should be able to do that for you, because most exchanges will use US dollars as the main value that they use. It's going through my other acquisitions of this asset, and then the total amount required. It's doing that for each asset. And then it's going through the calculation for each asset for capital gains. So for example, the ACB for my CRO is 154 Canadian. I made about 330 in capital gains, and then it's subtracting that from my ACB. So my capital gains 179, and my taxable amount is $89. So it went through and it did that for each asset, and then it calculated it for me, and then I put it in a spreadsheet. So yeah, that was the output, and it puts additional notes here. I've used acquisitions from 22 to 24 across 3 files. Okay, if you use additional exchanges, you would need to provide those files. I recommend you just limit yourself to 1 or 2 exchanges. Otherwise, you create yourself more admin work. If you did make sales from your cold wallets or cold storage, you'll need to supply that file too. Okay, and yeah, it's factored in capital losses. It even tells you where you need to put this number in the Canadian tax sheet. So yeah, this is really good, useful information and use case for Grok 3 to help you with your cryptocurrency taxes. And a takeaway here is, even if you want to use Grok 3 for heavy calculations, just know that you can supply it spreadsheets or CSVs that can go through those numbers really quickly, make the calculations, and do any internet research to supply additional information to your requests. So yeah, if you found this useful, I do have a Grok 3 course on how Grok 3 can help you with anything from ebooks to research to can even help you design curriculums for courses, speeches, summarize videos, help you build games, and a whole lot more. Thanks.